Hi, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I'm joined today by author, speaker, nutrition practitioner, Eleonora Bastos. Eleanor, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. We have a time difference between us. You're 8 hours ahead of me right now.
Yes.
So it took a
So
little
the future looks bright, just so you know, if you want to know.
Yeah. And I mean, we had to play around with our schedules just so we could coordinate a time because, well, before we start, why don't we tell them who you are and what you do for a living and where you are right now?
Right. So I am Eleonora. Nice to meet you. And I am a nutrition practitioner. I am a speaker. I'm an author. But most importantly, I'm passionate about health and well-being, and that's literally what I do. Like I have many different ways that I do it, but all I do is just like helping people finding balance in their life, and it comes from personal story. So the reason why I do what I do is because after a couple of traumatic experiences when I was a kid, I started suffering with eating disorder, depression, and anxiety really bad, to the point that I was suicidal at the age of 17. And then once I got myself out of it, I actually I started my healing journey around the age of 17. And then when I slowly but surely started healing myself, although I went to school for marketing, so completely different. Once I left Italy to go to Miami and found, like my purpose and healed myself fully, I couldn't think of doing anything else. So this is what I do today. I just help people creating a better relationship with their body and food and with their life in general, because the two are, they're correlated. You cannot separate mind from body. And I think like that's like one of the biggest problem of the programs that are out there, that they only address one part, right? Either the mental or the physical, but nothing like really like brings the two together. And our body is like incredible the way that it works, right? So if you are sad and lonely, you go for the carbohydrates and the sugar, and there's a reason for it, right? So your body always strives to go in balance. So if you are unhappy because of your relationship, because of you're stressed out at work and all of that, you're gonna have this reaction, which is like the cortisol that increases in your brain, in your body, and then your body is going to try to balance it out by eating, because that stimulates serotonin and opioids.
Right.
So then it's just trying to balance itself out. So this is why I do a holistic approach where I address the both, right? Like the nutrition and the lifestyle together. And that's pretty much what I do.
So I want to backtrack for a second. You got into the industry because of an eating disorder. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. What type of eating disorder was it?
So I started at 13 with anorexia, and then I was in a cycle for 8 years. I was going from anorexia, then I was restricting myself a lot, like eating like one apple a day and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
And then I would do that for like a few months, or like 6, 7, 8 months and whatever. And then I would go the opposite way. So binge eating. Then I put on all the weight. Then I would feel really bad about my body and how I looked. So then I would go into bulimic mode. And then I'd start like going through bulimia and then back into anorexia. So I done that cycle twice, almost 3 times around.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for how many years was that then?
8 years. And then it kind of like trickled down like 8 years until I was able to kind of come out of it. But still, like the food relationship, like in moments of stress, I was still restricting for. So I've been normal for like 9 years now. But yeah, it's been quite a journey to get out of it. Yeah.
Can I ask, how did you become normal again? I mean, how did the transition from going from, a binge eater to bulimic to, anorexia, how do you change that mindset?
I think like a lot has to do again with whatever, like it's going on in your life. That's why like you can't separate the two. And that's why when I decided to take on this journey, I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, because I really do believe that you have to address the two. Because on one hand, like we are made from what we eat. So what we eat heavily impacts our emotion, but at the same time, like we eat our emotions, right? Like what I was saying before. So, for me, in order to heal myself, I first started like to address my relationship with food. But then at the same time, I was blessed when I moved to Miami. I met this couple. He was a life coach. She was a model. And together with that approach, it really worked for me. Right. So they would just became friends. And then just by hanging out with them, like working with him as a life coach, working with her as a health coach together, that's like the approach that works. So with her, I was looking into, paying attention on how I feel after I eat something. Do I feel energized? Do I feel lethargic? Does my stomach bloat? Does it not? Like starting paying attention with that in food, and like taking away from like the amount of calories, but how I was feeling. So connecting the feeling on the way that I was eating. And then with him, trying to find balance into the areas that I was feeling out of control. Because at the end of the day, when you are, food is just like a way for us to control the way that we're feeling, right? Like whether you do it consciously or not, like you're trying to like control your emotions, right? Like if you're feeling, whatever it's the feeling, you're trying to control it in the best way you can. And that's just like intuitively comes out in food, right?
Right. So you became a nutrition practitioner, correct?
Yes, correct. So I went
Okay.
after I healed myself, I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York and got my certification. Yeah.
Okay. And what type of clients do you currently work with?
Well, so I've worked with really everybody. So from at the beginning of my career was anybody really, but then the more time that I spent doing this, the more that I had like the opportunities and doors opening. So I went from celebrities in Hollywood to, mom and pop and people that are retiring, like really anybody. It's like anybody that feels like they want to make a specific shift in their life and they're ready to take charge. It's the right client for me. So I don't really have a specific set. I tend to work a lot with women, just because, like women are more into taking care of themselves and like wanting to do the work, like rather men are quite dismissive, although there's a lot of like eating disorder in the men's world, which is not talked about, but men tend to like kind of like brush it off the carpet while women are a little more proactive on it. So I tend to work majority like for the majority of part or with women, and that was like my one-on-one practice for the longest time. Yeah.
Okay. And so I want your opinion on this with the fad diets, like intermittent fasting, keto diets, if it fits your macros. What's your opinion on diets like that?
Okay. So the ketogenic diet, I'm gonna avoid that topic because like I know it can like cause a lot of things, but if you do the research and you see like where it's coming from, what is the origin, it was never meant to be as a lifestyle. If you think about it, like for me it's like, if you like forget about like what they're trying to sell you, but think about this for a minute, right? Like ketogenic, you're trying to alter your body composition for like your natural body's composition, the way that you're meant to be working and functioning for a long time in order to burn fat. Like there's something wrong there, right? Like, so I always try to like tell my client to shy away with any fad diets because there's not enough study, right? Like now it's coming out, but what's going to happen like 10, 20 years, 30 years from now, how's that going to impact? Like nobody really knows. But then if you use your sense of common, like our body is perfect the way that it is. Like it's the perfect machine. Given the chance, we'll always strive to go back to balance, which is a state of homeostasis, right? So he always wants to heal itself. So why would you want to alter its composition and alter the way that it functions? Like for me, it just doesn't make sense, So anything that it's a restrictive plan, like, or a restrictive way of eating, it's not the right way. We're meant to be eating whatever. Our body's constantly talking to you. So all the cravings, the things that happen, that's your body talking to you. So you have to quiet the mind, like the noise outside, and tune within and really learn to listen. And that's all I do for my clients, is just teaching them to listen, and you can't restrict yourself. And that's like, it drives me nuts because I was stuck in the dieting world for such a long time. When I was like in my anorexic day, I've done everything. I've done like the Miami Beach diet, the Dunkin' diet, and like the soup diet, and the cayenne pepper, lemon, and water. And
oh my God, you've done them all.
Oh gosh, I've done them all. And it drives me nuts because like the whole dieting world, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like it's hundreds of, like I think it was worth 350 billion the last time I checked.
Sure, yeah.
And it's all based on the notion of restriction, which is not sustainable in the long run, right? And that for me, it's so shady, like it's not sustainable. They don't want you to like be able to succeed, because if you succeed, then you're a one-time consumer, and nobody wants a one-time consumer, right? So they try to sell you all kinds of like fat burning pills and potions, and I'm like, oh my word, I just can't. No. So absolutely no.
So I agree with you actually when it comes to the keto diet. I'm not a fan of that particular diet. And like you, I do know that there are some benefits to following a diet plan like that. one of the things I try to say to my clients is if the diet is not sustainable, it won't be successful.
Right.
So we're on the same page on that diet. What's your opinion on the if it fits your macros diet?
Well, I don't agree with it.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't. Because, like I'm all about like where like the source, right? Like, so that's like where I tend to like crash. Like my brother is a elite personal trainer, like NASM certified, blah, blah, blah. And we tend to crash on it a lot because for him, it's like,
Yeah.
if it fits your macro, whatever, everything counts. But for me, it's like, like there has been enough research by now that shows that the quality of like, where are we getting our things? It's so important. So if you are on a high protein diet for whatever reason, because you're doing bodybuilding and all that, and you're having meat and you're not looking at where it's coming from, you're pumping your body with hormones and antibiotics and all of the stuff that is actually really not healthy for you, right?
Yeah.
So for me, like, it's not like if you fit your macro, it's like try to eat healthy, period. Like, yeah, hit your macro, absolutely. I'm not saying not to, but the quality and where you're sourcing your food is so important, especially nowadays. There have been like after the industrial revolution, about 34,000 chemicals introduced into our food.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
So our body is not meant and designed to deal with the stuff, like it takes 100 years for the body to go through evolution. But even then, like all these toxins and chemicals, when they're getting like digested into your stomach, your body takes them and doesn't know what to do with it. So then it gets confused and puts it away and be like, okay, I'm going to think about it later. So store it away, thinks that like, be like, okay, I'm going to use it as fat, puts it there, but then he knows that it's not fat, so he's going to encapsulate it, and then you're going to have those like stubborn fat pocket that you cannot come down, the one that are like your love handles, or like, and that's because like all these toxins and chemicals, like your body doesn't know what to do with it and doesn't have enough time, especially if you eat them over and over again, like 3-4 times, 6 times a day. It's too much. You're overwhelming your system. So
That's
unfortunately,
interesting.
I don't know if it fits your macro. It's not my thing, no.
So I'm going to agree with you again on that. That's one thing I've written.
Okay.
we're not debating here. I've read
Okay.
numerous blogs on that particular diet plan. And I always tell clients, I look at not just the macronutrients, but the micronutrients.
So important.
Yeah, just like you, the quality of the food that you're consuming. So we're on the same page on both of those diets.
I like it.
I wanted your thoughts though on intermittent fasting.
Right. Well, so intermittent fasting, it's funny. Like it's like becoming like this most like famous thing, but it's your natural process that you do when you go to sleep at night. So usually you shouldn't be eating after 7 o'clock, 8 at the very latest,
Okay.
and then when you wake up in the morning, like that's your 12-hour window right there,
Right.
that's it.
Sorry, are you a believer of I think with true intermittent fasting, they say is 16 to 18 hours. What do you think about those type of plans?
I mean, again, like you can't push it like all the way to like, a few hours after you wake up.
Okay.
I don't particularly, I don't practice it. For me, like the 12-hour window, like there has been research that shows that there's like 8 hours to fully digest and process your food. And then you need another 4 hours to go in deep cleanse mode, right? Like that's when it goes like in the deep cleanse mode. So that's like your 12 hours. So I always do tell my clients to leave the 12-hour windows at night. So if you're eating your last meal at 7 or 8 o'clock, don't eat breakfast until 7 and 8 o'clock. Like, so that I do recommend because it is good, like to give your digestive system a break. But the 16 hours, like the problem with that, again, like when you're restricting yourself too much, then you go in binge mode.
Sure.
And that's not balance, right? Like, so for me, I'm like more like let's try to like respect like your naturally, again, your body's perfect. It goes through a natural process on its own. All you have to do is facilitate it. Don't put extra stress on it, right? So fasting can be good, especially if you're going through like, a certain period where, like you're sick or whatever, like it can be a good idea. But, like for specific case, like 1-2 days, like, or whatever, right? Like not as a lifestyle. No, I don't agree. But there is something to be said about like the meals, right? So we're not supposed to have 3 big meals a day.
Right.
Like we came up with that in the 17th century for networking purposes. So we are actually not meant to have big meals. So the whole like having lunch and having dinner, and people that also have like a heavy breakfast in the morning, that's not good either, right?
No.
So you're much better off to graze throughout the day rather than like gorge on like big meals. So eat every 3 hours consistently throughout the day and not have big meals.
That's funny because I come from a bodybuilding background, and that's typically how we tend to eat every 2 or 3 hours, but smaller meals.
Right.
What type of diet do you follow right now?
I don't follow a diet. No.
I was actually reading that up on your website, is that you take a non-diet approach.
Right.
So I found that interesting. So could you explain what a non-diet approach is?
Well, I think like it's just like what is now called like intuitive eating. Like back in the day when I started practicing 6 years ago, this was all like a novel concept. Like now it has a name, which is intuitive eating, right? That's really what it is. Again, like it goes like to listening to your body. You know, like I am mostly plant-based, but then I do have my meat and my fish or whatever when I feel like it. You know, so I don't have a way of restricting yourself. Again, anything that is restricting yourself is not going to serve you, right, in the long run. Like your body needs everything that comes in nature. So the only diet that I follow is like I don't have processed food. You're not going to see me having processed food. Like there's like one thing, like all my friends know and make fun of me, like there's one thing I don't stand. It's like I call it shitty food, so sorry my French. Like I just cannot do like the process. Like you'll never, like I think like the last time I had McDonald's was like 10 years ago. Like you'll never catch me like eating processed food, but not like for like, oh my god, like I'm judgmental, but just because like I started paying attention on how I feel afterwards, and how I feel afterwards, like it just doesn't, it's not worth it for the pleasure of the moment to then feel bad afterwards, right? So yeah.
That's another thing I say to my clients as well. I'm like, if you're gonna have a cheat meal or have something like a dessert, don't have the box of Oreo cookies that have been sitting on the shelf for 3 or 4 years.
Exactly.
Have something that's homemade, something that's baked, something that will go bad if you leave it on the counter for more than 2 days.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What about supplements? Do you recommend any supplements to your clients?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I am a huge believer in supplements. I've been taking supplements my whole life, and that's one of the reasons why I never get sick. Like I never got enough flu in my entire life. Like,
really?
I don't even know what a flu is. Yeah, never got it, because my parents were, into MLM and like with supplements and stuff since I was a little kid. So I was the age of 3 when they started giving me, like vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. Okay. And I have been brought up with supplements, and probably that's one of the reasons why I never got sick. And now that my partner is with me, like he used to get sick all the time, and now he doesn't anymore because he supplements his diet. So I'm a huge believer about supplementing, but because they've done also study about this, right? Like our food has lost a lot of the nutrient contents. They've done studies that from the 1970s to the 1990s, like some fruits and vegetables lost up to like 90% of their nutritional value.
Is that right?
Yes, you can look it up. I'll send you the study as after this. It's really crazy. So when back in the days we were like 1 apple a day takes the doctor away, now in order for you to like get the same nutritional value, you might have to eat like 3, 7. I don't know how many it is because there was no study about that, but you have to eat more, right? So in order for you, even if you have the cleanest diet on the planet Earth, to be able to get all the nutrients that you need to function properly and have like a healthy body, you would have to eat so much food that, let's be honest, like majority of people don't even pay attention to what they're eating. So, no. Like, and they're not looking from where it's coming and where it's being sourced. But even if you do, you cannot eat the right amount of food to have everything you need. Like you're going to have problems.
So is your particular supplement plan is an extensive amount of supplements, or do you narrow it down to like 5 or 6 products?
It depends on like people and like what they have like as a diet, right? Like it's a case by case basis. And I think like that's also like what I do things differently. Like I don't believe in like a one size like fit all kind of approach. Like everybody's different, right? Like everybody has different like lifestyle that like plays an impact on like, the way that you process and digest food. So if you're highly stressed and all that, like I would recommend like certain supplements on top of the other, but it's always around the same, so like you need a good multivitamin, period. No matter who you are, you need a good multivitamin, right? Like with like the right like nutrients, like the magnesium, selenium, the iron, the zinc, a good multivitamin, like it's super, super important. Vitamin D, especially for people like you in Canada. Here, I'm currently in London, so in the winter time, I need vitamin D.
Yeah, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. I talked about this the other day, and we don't get any sun. We live in a rainforest. So I supplement like about 3,000 IU of vitamin D a day. Yeah. So I'm a firm believer.
In the winter, I'm like up to 5,000. So
is that right?
Yeah. In the winter, yeah.
You're in London right now too.
I am in London. It's been quite a change. I'm a sun baby, and I actually have gotten like to experience proper like depression like this past winter was like the first time, because like I had not seen the sunshine for so many like weeks and months. I was like, oh my word, what did I do to myself?
Yeah.
So yeah, so but no, so like definitely like depending on like the lifestyle, but definitely a good multivitamin, omega-3 and 6. Nobody's eating enough fish, you know.
It's another
Nobody's
one I take.
Yeah. So omega-3 and 6, everybody should take it, you know, like whether you want the vegan version or like the non-vegan version, like I think like everybody should take it. So those are like my favorite. And then, yeah, depending on case by case.
And I know it is case by case with the clients you work with, but what's the most common, like what are the bad habits that you see people doing that come to work with you? Is it too much sugar? Is it too much carbs? Or what do you see?
So it's really interesting. A lot of the people take as a culprit carbs. So a lot of people don't eat carbs, which are actually essential. You know this better than anybody else. You're a personal trainer. We actually do need carbs. Like our brain needs the sugar to function, you know. So like we really do need carbs. They're so important, especially if you're trying to lose weight. You need your carbohydrates. You just gotta pick the right ones, but you really do need it. You cannot, you know, get rid of them, right? So I think like that's one of the biggest mistakes that I keep on seeing a lot. Then obviously people having too much sugar, not realizing, you know, like you only need very little sugar every day. And any excess of sugar that is in your bloodstream, the insulin is going to take it, put it aside, and store it as fat. So sugar is actually the number one culprit for obesity, more than anything else. Sugar and high fat, you know, like the bad kind of fat.
Right.
So those are, you know, like, so sugar is one of the big one. And then, you know, like people think that they're doing the health thing, drinking Splenda, like, you know, using Splenda or aspartame, or, you know, like the sucralose it's called? Yeah, the NutraSweet, like all of those. And I'm like, oh, those are terrible for you.
Yeah.
It's so bad, but people think that those are healthy. So I think like those are definitely like the worst mistakes that I see a lot, and people not being able to control like their sweet tooth, which, yeah.
Why do you think there are so many misconceptions when it comes to dietary nutrition?
I think
I have something to say.
Like, well, how much I can say.
Anything.
Well, so here's the thing. I think that the reason is that the majority of information that is out there is trying to sell people and not benefit them. So a lot of the information that is released is out there to try to create a market and sell products. Again, like it's a huge industry. So, you know, like there is a lot of misinformation, and it's just like to create a market for people. So for example, the whole gluten thing, right? You know, like gluten is actually not the culprit, it's zonulin, not gluten. But, you know, the gluten was like based, you know, like it's what like went out, it's like, oh, gluten free. And then to the point they started putting gluten free on food that doesn't ever contain gluten from before, you know, just because people all of a sudden start thinking that it was healthy. So it's all a big marketing scam, and they're just trying to sell people. So unfortunately, that's just what it is. You know, like all these like fad diets that come out, like then have like all these people, like the ketogenic now, that it's like one of the biggest one, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, keto this, keto that, get this guide, get this like cookbook, get this now there's pills that you can take, and like they bring you to the state of ketosis without having to follow a diet. And I'm like, it's fascinating.
Well, you study marketing, so you know what that's about.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears here. You're a best-selling author. I checked out your book on Amazon. I checked it out a little bit here, and first of all, tell me about your book. What's the name of your book?
So the book is my gift to the world. I actually have, when I first started coaching, I started offering my services for free because, you know, I was like just out of school, you know, having to get my feet wet. But what I found back then is that when you're offering your services for free, people don't take you seriously. So then clients would show up to work. We would say like, you need to do these 2 things for next week, and then they wouldn't do it. And that would like be really frustrating. So eventually I started like charging a little bit more, and then, you know, like now I have quite a hefty fee. So but, you know, like I've come across in my path and in my journey with people that could not afford my services, and I've always been so torn about it, because I'm like, I really want to help you, but I don't know if you're actually going to do it, and I don't want to waste my time and your time, you know, so let's just not. But then I've promised myself that when I've achieved enough, you know, experience, I would have wrote a book, and that's what the book is about. So I used to have this program with this girl when I first started my coaching practice. We created this program. It's called 10-10-10, where we're taking 10 women to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks without dieting.
Okay.
And so that was like our program. We created it from scratch, tested it, like ran it for a couple of years, and then my girlfriend went off to do like triathletes and all of that, and I decided to like modify it and make it more my own. And integrate, like the whole, like, because the book is divided in three. So I address the mindset, then the nutrition, and then the lifestyle. So I while the 10-10-10 original was all nutrition, now I integrated like everything together, made it my own. And then the book is just that. It's literally the program that I've been running for all these years with my clients, and anybody can afford it, right? It's like $16. Like, because when I needed the help that I needed, I couldn't have afford someone like me. I was blessed to have these two people. But if that wouldn't have been the case, then I was ready to show up, and I showed up every single time, right? And I made a change. So like this, anybody can pick it up, like it's on Amazon. So most countries have it. And, like you just go buy it. And the book is divided in 3 parts. And by every chapter, you read the chapter, and that counts for 1 week. So you read 1 chapter per week, and then you implement whatever it's at the end of the chapter, and then you have a questionnaire to check in with yourself, and then you do that again. And that's how the book is. It's like just that, my gift to the world and helping people.
Well, that's quite amazing, because you've made it cost effective for everyone to be able to follow a nutritional plan, right?
Yeah.
And I do the same thing here in Vancouver, British Columbia. We offer a small group training. We offer online training, because when you're offering a health as a service, it should be affordable for everybody.
Absolutely.
And you can't give that individual attention to everyone. You can't work with everyone one-on-one. I get it. There's only 24 hours in a day. You're only one person. So that's great. And so that book can be purchased on Amazon?
Yes, it's on Amazon. So all the countries that have Amazon have the book.
Okay. And now what's this? I'm reading up that you're a radio host as well.
Yeah, so that happened last year. I was interviewed by a radio here in London, and we actually hit on really well, and we got like really good traction when I was as a guest, and got offered a position, and started like my own show this past January. Then unfortunately things happened, so now everything is on hold. But yeah, so that's so much fun. I absolutely love it. But while the radio show is not happening, I actually decided to start my own show for the meantime. So I'm gonna start my own series of like Coffee with Hal, where I'm gonna be taking on some experts in different fields, and like have like kind of like this conversation that we're having right now, like have.
That's awesome. Is that going to be a podcast, or is it going to be on YouTube?
I think it's gonna be both. So I want to do like Zoom calls, because I like to put like a face, and for people like like to have like faces to relate to and all that. But then I'm thinking to extrapolate the audio. So easy, right? To just take the audio out and upload it on a podcast episode. So yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna be heading next. Yeah.
And another thing I want to talk to you about is, well, first of all, when COVID-19, when this is passed, will the radio show be back on?
Yeah, the radio show will definitely be back on. I'm not sure, like, commitment-wise, if I'm going to be able to take it on. It all depends. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, when things are going to go back to more normal, what normal is going to look like. So it's all a case-by-case basis. But I have gotten some opportunities in America, so I might go back to the States. So it's all to see.
Well, and yeah, you and I were talking about that off camera before we came on, is that you were actually supposed to be back in Miami last week, correct?
Yes. So there's like a lot of like doors opening for me right now in America between TV shows and stuff. So I am quite excited to go back to the States and, take my career in the next level. So yeah, so hopefully if that goes well, I'm just going to have to abandon the radio show and continue on a different path. But still, like I'll still be sharing content in one way or the other. That's why like I was thinking like the Coffee with Hal right now would like go well,
Yeah.
So yeah,
you're super active on social media. I was cruising your Instagram page the other day, and I liked everything I saw. It was like really good, useful content, and that's rare to see these days. I mean, people are not releasing selfies. They're releasing information that I think is like, I don't want to say anything bad or wrong about people, so I won't, but misinformation.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of self-proclaimed experts that are creating more confusion, which I found really, like, I got like, I am followed a lot of people during COVID-19. I found like people that, with like huge following giving such wrong information And I couldn't believe it, like I had a whole rant. I don't know if you saw it.
I
Not
didn't
really
see
proud of it.
it.
But yeah, so like I had a whole rant because like there were like some nutritionists and dietitians that they were saying that it's okay to like overeat in a time like we're going on right now. And it's absolutely not, like in a time like right now, this is the time that if you've never taken care of your health, this is the time to start, because when things are going to go back to normal and we're going to start to interact with each other, you want to make sure that you have a strong immune system. And if your diet is not in place and if you don't have healthy habits in place, you're going to be in trouble, so yeah.
I actually just put out a video about that this past weekend. How do you want to come out of COVID-19?
Right.
You want to come out a fat slob, or you want to come out strong and keep that immune system strong and healthy? Which brings me to my next question, your 30-day challenge.
Yes.
Is that something that you have just started? Is that something that you've been doing on a monthly basis?
I actually just started it when the COVID-19 happened, because when I moved to London, I started to take a foot back on the one-on-one coaching, because I've been doing it for so many years and I wanted to like scale it. So I started to like go more into businesses, right? So I was doing a lot of talks, and that was my business recently. So speaking. And when COVID hit, I lost my entire income from speaking. So I had to reinvent myself. So I went back to one-on-one and, like did my online course, which I'm super excited about. And it's a 30 days challenge. It's my book, just condensed, to 30 days. So then like, it's like kind of like a crash course. Okay. And you still get the personalized advice, which is why like I can only take so many people at the same time. But you have like the supplements, you have the online classes, you have like support with me. So it's quite cool. I have this is my second round and people are pretty happy with it, so I'm really happy. I'm good.
And I mean, today it's May 4th. Is it too late to sign up for the 30-day challenge?
No, you can still sign up. Like I do it once a month.
Yeah.
So you can sign up now for like the June challenge, but I'm thinking to do one in the middle of May. So like for the 14th of May, like it will be the cutoff like next week. Yeah. So then it starts in like the 3rd May of the month. Yeah.
This is fantastic, because you can work with someone who's actually a professional, who's educated themselves in this field. And I was talking to a trainer on my channel a few weeks ago. We were talking about all these free plans, free programs, free workouts that people are giving out, and these Instagram stars. And I've told my clients, be very hesitant to go and, take that plan or follow that plan or follow that program. You're not working with someone who's gone through the schooling. You've gone through the schooling, so I think it's great that people can work with you all over the world. That's important.
Yeah. So like I tend to like,
oh, we just froze for a second, Laura. Yeah, it's okay. It's gonna pause.
Are you back?
Yeah, there we go. It's froze for a second. I hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I only work with people in Canada, America, and Europe, just because of time difference. Australia tend to be a little too far from me. Yeah. So I only stay on this side of the planet. But yeah, like anybody that is like on these time zones can definitely work with me.
Great, perfect. I mean, that's important. I think that's great. I also want to talk to you about COVID-19. You're in London right now. What's the situation like over there?
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy today. I went and took my dog for a walk, and the coffee shop was finally open again, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, yes, I don't think I've ever been like this happy to see you, like it was such a nice feeling. So things are finally easing out here, which is quite good. Like it has been, we were like on a proper lockdown for this whole time, 2 months. But we were lucky because we were never fully on a lockdown, meaning that we could still go to the park and work out, which that has helped me tremendously because, being able to get out of the house at least once a day, like that was actually really good. So, but the last week, like I think like everybody on Thursday, we're going to get the official announcement from the government knowing what's going to be like. But I think like everybody's kind of like easing off, and yeah, so coffee shops are still opening up, and I saw the dry cleaner was open today too. So it's like, okay, it's like slowly getting back to normal. You cannot go and sit at a coffee shop, but at least you can go inside and like get a coffee or tea, whatever you want, right? So, yeah.
And once the travel bans have been lifted, do you plan on returning to Miami?
Yes. That is the first thing I'm going to do. Like as soon as the travel ban lifts, I'm going to be on a plane. Like I usually travel once a month. So this has been quite a challenge. The last 2 months, I lost 4 trips. So,
well, and that's right too. You're a speaker, right? So you travel quite a bit.
it is
What kind of talks do you give on? Is it all primarily nutrition or is it lifestyle?
It's a bit of everything. So because I've worked with so many people for such a long time, like I really specialize in like helping people make the change. So it's a lot of like inspirational with data and also like practical tips that I do. So, like like I do for companies, there's one module that sells particularly well, which is manage your time and master your energy, which is like all about productivity, like, so that tends to be like one of the modules that companies tend to like the most, and also teaching people healthy eating habits, how to make decision, how to read labels, being aware of like label scam, and, like, or something like more lifestyle related, like how to go out and, have a social life and still be able to be healthy, or, everything that has to do with, like feeling good in your body. That's really like all I go around and talk about. Yeah.
And as someone who has struggled with eating disorders, I mean, if there's someone watching us right now and they're having their own eating disorder, I mean, you can obviously relate to them. Now that you're on this path where you've been eating really healthy, clean diet for years, you've been following a lifestyle. It's not even a diet, as you say. It's just, intuitive eating, which I actually think is quite laughable that that's actually labeled as a thing now. But are you ever tempted to go back to that type of eating, like that lifestyle at all?
No, it's really funny, like today. So women that are going to be watching this can relate. The week before your period, you get the weirdest cravings, right? And today I was like walking to the store doing my groceries, and then I was with my brother, and and I saw these like sweets that I used to eat when I was a kid, right? And then I saw, I'm like, oh my goodness, and I really wanted to get it, and then I stopped myself and I'm like, actually no, like. And then I looked at myself, I'm like, what happened? It just became such a second nature. But something that needs to be said, like, it took me 10 years to get here, right? So it will take time. Nothing happens overnight. Whatever got you to the place that you are right now, like, it took you years to get there, and things, right, that piled up one on top of the other. It's never one thing that triggers it. It's like a comment from a person, like whatever, like in a situation or a relationship, like whatever, like all these things pile up, and then eventually you get to the point of, right? So you have to know that it's going to take time. It took me 10 years to be in the point where I am right now, where I'm not even getting tempted, although I have kryptonite, which is Nutella and Ferrero Rocher.
Nutella and what?
Ferrero Rocher. Oh,
Okay.
my goodness. I have no self-control. I'm so bad with it. Like, I just know, like, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it,
Okay.
because I have no self-control. Like,
Do you ever allow yourself to have it like once a year or no? Is it just?
oh yeah, Ferrero Rocher, at least, like, yeah, once a month. But I do have, so here's the thing, right? Like, it goes back to what we were saying before. It's about having healthy eating habits. So I have a piece of chocolate every single day.
Okay.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Like 30 grams of dark chocolate every single day.
My associate, Megan Williamson, she does the same thing, actually. She swears by it. So why is that?
For women, it's actually really, really good because it's healthy functioning fats.
Okay.
So, like, it really helps your brain. So, like, it's really, really good for you. But yeah, like, it doesn't get you the cravings. Like, it's really great. Like, it stimulates serotonin. So I highly recommend it, as long as the chocolate is good, right? So I buy this brand. I don't know if you guys have it in Canada. They do have it in America, and they have it here, which is Green and Blacks.
I'm not sure.
Okay, it's organic, has 5 ingredients. Doesn't have any
Okay.
soy, lecithin, none of that. It only has cacao, vanilla, milk, and whatever. Does it even have milk? Maybe not. Whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, so super clean chocolate.
Yeah.
And it's 85% dark. So you have to build palate for it. It takes time. So you start with 65, then you go 75, then you go 85, right?
Sure, it's bitter.
I have it every single day. So I don't really feel like I'm missing out on like sweets and stuff. Like, when you can have a treat every day,
Well, and that's just it too. I mean, I think a lot of people try to reward themselves with food. I think, well, I did this workout, so I'm going to go and I'm going to have like, a burger and fries. I'm like, I personally don't think that's a healthy relationship with food, to reward yourself with food. I think like the way you're doing it is, yeah, it's a treat. I'm not overeating it. I'm not overindulging in it. It's just as part of my lifestyle.
I think like when you're rewarding yourself with food, it's because you're depriving yourself from it from the begin with. And that is the issue, right? So if you're depriving yourself, and that's like what I teach my clients, it's not about like, oh, don't eat this. It's like, replace this with that, right? So, like, if you deprive yourself from like having a burger and you really love your burger, then you're going to be like, the first thing you want to do whenever you're feeling you're going to indulge in the burger. But if I teach you, make your own burger at home, there's this amazing recipe. You can make it with like onions inside and cheese, and it's like really amazing when you bite into it, right? And you can still get away the craving, but you're doing something good because then you know that the beef is organic and grass-fed and doesn't have any aromas and antibiotics. The bun, maybe, you know, like instead of having 2 slices, you only have 1, and you make it, you know, you still have it.
Yeah.
So then you're not deprived, so you're not gonna go for it, right? So it's all about like finding things that you can replace with rather than like eliminating. Because if I tell you not to think of the color red, what are you gonna think?
All you're gonna think about is the color red.
Right. So
Yeah.
like that's how it works.
That's great. If a potential client wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Social media. I'm always on social media, like daily. So definitely social media. If you want to email me, website, everything comes to me. So if you find me on social media, whether it's through the website, through DMs on Instagram or Facebook, like everything gets to me. So any of those.
And I'll make sure to plug in all that information to the description of this video below. I've checked out your website. I perused through your Instagram. I think your stuff is great. And
Thank you. I really
yeah,
appreciate it.
no, I mean, and I don't say it lightly because there are people out there, they come on the channel. I'm like, yeah, I agree with some of the things you're saying, but I have to say, I don't have anything to debate with you. I agree everything you're saying.
That's nice. It's so hard to find, like, you know, usually with like personal trainer and stuff, like we tend to clash because again, like if it fits to the macro, it's one of the approach that I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know, so then like those are the things that we tend to clash on, but like I'm so happy that we actually get along so well. So
well, you know, and maybe we can do a part 2 sometime and have maybe somebody on that does want to debate us, because there are I work with people all the time who they believe in those diet fads, and
absolutely.
And I've said it for years. There's a reason why I'm against them.
Yeah.
So it's great to get backup from somebody who's qualified and educated. That's all.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
And for me, thank you so much for having me. This was lovely. Like it was 45 minutes. It flew. I couldn't believe it.
There we go, right?
Yeah.
This video is going to come up on Thursday afternoon. And yeah, I definitely recommend checking out Eleonora's site. Everything, all her content is fantastic. I'm going to plug all that information in the description below. But for now, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope you get back to Miami soon.
Thank you. Me too.
Would you ever make a trip out to Canada?
Totally. Yeah, it's actually on my list. I've been meaning to come for the longest time. So
Vancouver.
Yes.
You got to come to Vancouver.
I'm definitely coming to Vancouver. I heard great things about it. So Montreal and Vancouver are on my list.
I'm from Montreal. Montreal is great too, but stay away in the winter. Yeah.
Okay.
So Vancouver is kind of like LA weather. You know, we're very warm. We don't get any snow here, rarely. So great place to go. Yeah, because you don't like the snow.
I mean, I love the snow. I'm a huge snowboarder.
Yeah.
But not as a lifestyle.
No.
As a controlled environment. Like
that's right. Yeah.
At the time, it's great.
Yeah.
But as a lifestyle, no.
No, it's not your thing. Well, especially if you're living in Miami. So, I mean, I get it. Lorna, thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. And you have a nice evening, because I think it's about close to 11 o'clock at night there?
9:30, yeah.
All right. Well, you have a good evening. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.